Well, howdy, folks. How's it going today? I hope everyone's doing really good. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there, and wish you all the best. Today, I just wanted to show you guys the next step, which I completed yesterday on this guitar. In yesterday's video, I went over how I laid out this control cavity before I got it all routed out here. And basically, I just used a cover plate from a 1977 Ibanez Destroyer that I have, and I figured I'd just use that and it'd have the same shape and dimensions, and something to trace, obviously. So anyway, I went over how I went about lining everything up. You can see these marks here. So basically, just a really quick recap on it. I had measured an equal distance from the end of the plate and centered that on the holes where the pots are going to go. So there's 3 pots. We centered it on the outside pots, right? So then what we did is just drew a line from the center of the screw holes here that hold the cover on. I just used the factory holes to kind of line it up, and it was close enough. So then it was just basically transferring these marks out onto the guitar and get everything lined up. So as I described yesterday, I only had the 3 holes drilled in the body yesterday for the pots, okay? All this was still intact, so what I did is I took the guitar over to the drill press and I drilled most of that out of the guitar. Set the depth so I wouldn't go through the top, and I left a good 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little stronger. I'll have to measure it, but it's enough for, the pot shaft will go through there and stick up, more than enough to get a knob on. Should work out just about perfect. So anyway, once I got that drilled out, I took my laminate router, this little guy right here. So this is the bit that I used. All right. What I did basically was took a straight edge and figured out where the router bit was hitting, and pretty much the right spot, or the deepest spot that I had from where the drill had, hauled this cavity out. I made a nice mark, and measured off the edge of the cavity or the line to the straight edge, and then just set that out a little bit, maybe, an 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less, and just went down across here and flattened that out and smoothed both sides up. I also made a mark here so I knew when to stop. I just basically, used the router bit as a guide to set the distances and everything. Now, it took a few passes to get it to the right width so I could get the pot in there. And we're all good to go. Everything's lined up great. So, and I cut it out for a full-size pot. Now, I didn't make it too big, and the reason I didn't, you know how like your pot will get loose, the nut will get loose under your knob, and on some situations like your jack, it'll just spin if you try to tighten it without holding the backside. We've all been there, right? Same with your pot. If this cavity's big enough so it can spin all the way around, it's gonna do that, obviously. But if you got it, a little tighter, when you turn it, it'll hit the side wall of the cavity, and you'll be able to tighten the nut from the top side, okay? So that's something to keep in mind if you're, doing your own routing and routing out a channel here for a control cavity. So once that was done, I took the router again and set the depth just enough so I could route this little seat all the way around. Okay, so what that's going to do is allow this plate to actually sit down in there, and it'll be flush to the wood when we're done. You got plenty of meat there for the screws. That'll work out good. I'm going to make my own. I'm not sure what I'm going to make it out of yet. Maybe a piece of an old pit guard. I'll see what I got kicking around. You could do them out of wood, plastic, whatever you got, will work. Whatever you want for a look, I guess, is the biggest thing. It's really not going to do much more than just keep the dust out of there and keep you from getting your belt buckle in there on the pot or something, and that might not end well sometimes. Anyway, that was my process for doing this. I'm building this guitar with no templates or anything, so this is all done by hand. I still need to clean up these outside rounded edges. You can see some pencil still left there. I'll probably take that out with an X-Acto knife. To get from that point out, I did it just freehand. Very, very delicate passes to get there, and reading glasses, of course, so I could see. You really need to pay attention. And, don't try to take too much at a time with a router, period. They jump, and when they do, if you're trying to cut too much or too deep, they'll jump. And also, it's directional. Sometimes going in one direction doesn't work well. You'll figure that out real quick. And you can almost tell by the sound of it, actually. I'm kind of getting privy to it. So anyway, be very careful. Don't take a lot at a time. When they jump, they'll blow a big chunk out. Sometimes it won't be pretty, trust me. And it's dangerous, so just be very careful with some eye protection. Definitely. I can't stress that enough. So again, you can see the drill marks from where it was like a Forstner bit that I used to, start these out and widen this out. And basically I centered that right in the hole that was already there, because the bit itself has a point that sticks out on it, like that. So I didn't want to drill in between them and blow it out through the front of the guitar, so I centered it on the hole in the drill press, and that's how I got started, and just set the depth approximately where I needed it to be. And then after I got those depths established, I actually raised the height of the drill press so it wouldn't go down as far. And then I took my router and cleaned out the floor by hand, okay? That was my process, at least. I'm no woodworker by any means, and I'm just doing the best that I can. But I thought I'd kind of share this with you guys, so, you can do this with pretty minimal tools here. I mean, I'm using a $20 or $30 router there and a drill press. You could even do it with a hand drill if you're careful and good and pay attention. But anyway, I got to figure out what I'm going to do for a cover, and I'm not too worried about that. I'll probably work on sanding and finishing the body now. I still got to round the edges of the body over too, which, I could do that with a router, but again, I'm really leery of getting a big chunk blown out of the air, and it all depends on the direction and that kind of thing. So I'm no expert with it, so I'll probably take a good old wood rasp and some sandpaper and do it. Now, this isn't probably for everybody, but I don't mind doing it. Get a good old rasp like this, and it will really probably surprise you how fast you can go around this. What I'll usually do is make a pencil mark as a reference too. Same distance, right? and I'll just kind of work towards that line, or at least use that as a guide. And it's really easy to see as you're doing it. You just kind of keep focusing on the line as you do it, and it works out well. And then I just take sandpaper and smooth everything off nice, and you're pretty much good to go. Okay, so the next step in this game is going to be to locate the jack and get that marked out so I can drill through into the cavity. I got to take a measurement off my destroyer real quick. Okie doke. Well, let's check this out real quick. I'm just going to measure roughly off that point right there, which looks to be about 3¼ roughly inches. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of mark that out the same. So I'll write that measurement down before I forget it. And we'll just center it in there. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do as far as the jack plate. Now, this is it's just a square one with the 4 holes in it, which is cool. I may do that too. Just probably take a pick guard or something and make one. See what I got kicking around. But this is pretty much what started this madness of building these Explorer style guitars. This thing is a wonderful instrument, really fun to play, and it sounds really, really great. Again, this is pancaked, and they used multiple pieces. You can see a lot of seams here on the top and the back. So again, this is an Ibanez Destroyer 1977 lawsuit guitar. They got the letter from Gibson, and they made these from 1975 to 1978. It does have a Carina finish, and as I've said in almost every video, there is no such thing as Carina wood. This is actually a form of ash. It's Japanese sen, S-E-N. So that's why I used ash. This is from Maine, local stuff, actually. I got from a good friend. So again, this is pretty much what started the madness on these builds here. I just really love to play this guitar. It's a lot of fun. If you've never played a Gibson Explorer style guitar, I know the look's not for everybody. Maybe you don't want to stand up in church and rock that out, but I would in a minute. Anyways, if you don't like the look, I get it. I don't like the looks of some guitars myself. I wouldn't rule them out as being terrible, terrible or great instruments, but it's all about sitting down and playing it, see what it feels like. The first time you sit down and play one of these, especially sitting down, I noticed how comfortable it was. This really isn't in the way. You gotta watch it though, like banging into stuff. You gotta get that under your belt first, but they're very comfortable. They're really balanced, and they have a unique sound. Even acoustically, these things are just really cool, and they sound great. Okay, what was that measurement again? 3¼ right? Okay, so basically I'm gonna be looking at something about like that right there. Now that'll be the center of it. And again, I may go with the rectangle plate. I've also thought about doing the Fender cup, thimble style that's recessed in there. It's really just preference and aesthetic thing. I probably will go with the square one, just to keep in the tradition of, the Explorer, Destroyer thing. Not trying to copy anything. Make it your own. That's the biggest thing, Don't worry about what everyone else does. If that's what you want to do, do it. And don't look back. Anyway, I'll have to get that drilled. And that's going to probably, yeah, that'll be all right. I mean, well, here's the other thing, there's a few ways to go about that. Obviously, you got to drill a hole big enough for the jack to actually fit in there, right? But do you need that hole to be that big all the way through? Well, not necessarily. You could actually drill a hole big enough for a jack to go in, maybe just that deep, whatever it needs to be. Then you could drill a smaller hole for the wires. Now that's totally up to you. You could drill it big enough so it goes all the way through the cavity, and you could stuff the jack through that way. I think I'm going to make it probably about, that deep, maybe a little bit deeper. I'll have to get a jack out, see how far it goes in there. But I don't think I'm going to drill a big hole all the way through. It's just as simple to take the jack plate off, leave enough wire so you can pull the jack out, keep that in mind. So you're going to have to change a jack probably down the road. So whatever, just make the wires long enough so you can desolder it or unsolder it, if you will, out here. Put a new one on, cram it back in there, and you got it. And, you don't even have to take this cover off to do that either, which is kind of handy. So there's things like that to keep in mind. Like I said, I'm going to dig out a jack here and kind of set it on there and see what that looks like. And like I said, it doesn't matter. You can just drill one big hole too. Totally up to you. I think I'm going to do exactly what I just described and then just poke a small hole through there to get some wires through. Just in fear of blowing this out with a big drill bit, honestly, and it's really not a necessity. So that's where we are, folks, on this one, and I am some glad to be done with the router and all that. That stuff scares me. I'm just worried about blowing a chunk of wood out, and takes a little getting used to it first. Like I said, I'm just doing this with some really basic tools here and no template. So, when I get time, I probably will make a template and lay out something that I can, use a router with a ball bearing and exact this every time if I'm going to build more of these, which I'm not sure how many of these I will build. We'll just see how it goes. For me personally, I probably will build a few more for myself just because I really dig the feel of these guitars, and I want to set a few up with some different pickup configurations. I'd love to have them with a set of P90s. I think that would be pretty sweet. I'm thinking about doing a one humbucker, one knob version of this too, something really simple. And, obviously maybe the two humbucker thing. We'll see. There's a lot of different combinations you can throw at any guitar, obviously, but, there's something unique about these. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the body mass. I don't know. It just really speaks to me when I pick these style guitars up and play them. They have a certain vibe about them and a certain tone. Like I said, acoustically, I always play guitars acoustically before I plug them in. I can usually tell if it's a good guitar just acoustically. I've kind of paid attention to that over the years. I'll strum them for a minute and I'll go, I'll still plug it in, I've been wrong before, but oftentimes I can tell, usually within two chords, if it's a ringer or it's a, sleeper, or if it's going down the road, I guess. All right, folks. Well, I got to get the drill out get a jack out and get that done. And then I'm going to work on the finish. And pretty much after that, I'd say we're going to be good to go to put it together and, put some tuners on it. I got to dig some tuners out too and do a setup. The frets are sharp too, so we'll have to clean all that up. And again, just finish work from there out. So I did want to go through this, like I said, how I achieved it, or at least went about it. It wasn't that bad, honestly, and it probably took a total actual working, I would say maybe 25, 30 minutes. It was pretty quick. It really took more time to get the straight edge clamped on at the right distance and mark out the stop points and things like that. And I was being overcautious, as always, and measuring 10 times instead of 2. So that's just my method, folks. Again, with no template, you really have to pay attention and check things several times, just so you don't, make a bad mistake. All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in again. I really do appreciate all the views and kind comments. This one's going to be done pretty soon, like I said, and we'll move on to something different. I've got some cool guitar lessons. I've been kind of writing down some tunes to kind of go over some hopefully useful stuff for you guys, and a lot of cool technique and whatnot. All right, we'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Okie doke.